Hello everybody, welcome back to the Panel by Panel Comics YouTube channel with me, your host Jay. Today is my buy or sell video for the new books I pulled for the week of June 24th, 2026. And before we get too deep into the video, guys, if you're new to the channel, please hit that like button and that subscribe button as well, and turn on those notifications so you never miss any of my nearly daily comic book uploads. And we're going to go ahead and get this video started with Absolute Wonder Woman issue number 21. This is 32 pages for $5. Kelly Thompson and Dylan Snook do the art on this title, and this one focuses on Wonder Woman going to hell and having a talk with people trying to find where her mother is. Her mother's been kidnapped. She has a couple ideas for who it could be, but she's still trying to find who is the real culprit. The art in this issue was pretty solid from Dylan Snook. Nothing too crazy. And then we also get a little bit of a deep dive into what's going on back at Gateway City. Apparently it's been a couple days now since Wonder Woman got abducted by the robots. And we also get an update on Barbara, who was taken in, and she might become the new Cheetah for this universe. We see how the original Cheetah got her transition and how it kind of all fell into a pretty bad situation for the character of Cheetah in the Amazon universe. But it was really actually touching. I felt really bad for the Cheetah character, but overall this story was really good, and you got a good battle at the very end with Wonder Woman Diana going up against one of these lion-like creatures. Her's way bigger than her, but it was still really cool. The magic was really good from Diana. The action was really good, drawn by Dylan Snook. And I mean, it's an absolute title. It's going to be fantastic. And then at the very end, we have Diana calling out to Head Cates, "Why did you do this? Why did you kidnap my mother? I know it was you. Essentially, just tell me why you did this." And then also, she said that she's going to make sure you don't do anything to either Cersei or Barbara, because I will come after you. Kelly Thompson continues to kill it with the Absolute Wonder Woman title. This is a fantastic book. Obviously, Absolute Wonder Woman is going to be a buy. Highly recommend that you guys catch up on that series, either in trade or somehow through all the first 20 issues. But a good start to a new arc of Absolute Wonder Woman. Next, we have an issue 1 titled Bloodwire. Not quite sure how to pronounce it entirely, but this is a new issue 1 from Mad Cave, written by Paul Allor. The artist is Hermides Blanco, and it starts off with these two guys who were talking about women in a very misogynistic way, saying that their only way to serve the world is just to say yes, do whatever men say. And then this woman comes in and crashes their vehicle that they're taking, murders them, and is doing this just for the sole purpose of trying to capture one of these robotic devices. And her name is Zora. And then the main character, the female that just caused this crash, her name is Ace. Anyways, she's trying to reassemble her body, even though she wants her correct body. So Ace is like, okay, fine, we'll get you on your correct body. They finally do that, and then the police show up, and she snipers him with a shotgun from a good distance away, kills the police officer. So then the assistance robot that is there with the cop takes over as Ace and Zora are trying to leave. This was a really good one-page, or just a good splash of a jump from the motorcycle. It was really good. The chase scenes were really entertaining, kept the intensity up very well. And then you saw that Ace told Zora to shut down real quick because she's about to get electrocuted, and if you turn it off, or if you turn off, you'll be able to not get electrocuted. It'll be fine. They do that. The robot gets up there, starts beating down Ace a decent little bit, starts chunking her around, but then Zora gets some help from Ace. They beat the robot, and then Ace starts tearing up the robot, making sure like, hey, this isn't one of us then, right? This thing isn't on your list or whatever. And then they start tearing it up, and that kind of makes Zora feel a little bit weird because she is still a robot. She probably doesn't like seeing these robots being torn apart, even if they aren't sentient, even if they're still being controlled by a different person or whatever. But Ace doesn't care. She still tears it up, and then they go on the run, going to some marked location, I presume. But this was a really good issue 1. A love story between these two, Zora and Ace. Can't wait to see how that develops. The past, why they're doing what they are doing, what is the goal for what they are doing, and is this a world that is kind of dystopian, utopian? It seems dystopian-like. Can't wait to see how it goes down. This is a really good introductory issue. Bloodwire for me is a buy. If you guys are looking for kind of like an LGBTQ romance, but with robots and the battle between humans and robots, this is a really good issue. Highly recommend it, and it's a buy for me. Next, we have the Summer of Supergirl special. This is 44 pages for $6. You get 3 total stories in this issue. The main story focused on Supergirl and Lobo going through a trial, and Supergirl basically saying, no, you don't need to jail Lobo. He actually just needs to go to therapy, which Lobo thinks is worse of a punishment than actually going to jail. And then Supergirl gets bonded out by Crush, who is Lobo's daughter. I haven't seen her in quite some time in a lot of titles, but then she starts fawning over Princess Shark. They go back to Midvale. Supergirl takes Dog, Lobo's dog. That's actually his name, is just Dog. I never actually knew that. Anyway, she takes him back to Midvale. He starts chasing after this cat, and then he starts acting very sad because he does miss Lobo. Lobo is still like his father in a way. Like she feels, or the dog feels really upset. And it gets mad whenever he thinks about Lobo, and Lobo shows up in like this suit and tie, just looking like not Lobo. And then he starts ripping off all the gear because his dog is mad at him, and he feels like Supergirl turned him into a good boy, which obviously is not what Lobo wants. He wants a killer, somebody off the chain. But that's not really why why the dog's upset. And that leads to Lobo and Supergirl going on a chase, fighting each other all throughout Midvale, causing destruction. And she's just trying to get the point across to him. But Kara starts kind of going crazy and nearly throws a car on top of Lobo, but then calms down and tells him, hey, it's just because your dog is upset at you. And they go to this restaurant or whatever. It's called a mac and cheese sandwich from Midvale Munchies. And Lobo's like, what the hell is that? A mac and cheese on a sandwich? That should not go well together. But it does, and Lobo offers it to Dog, and that makes him turn around, and then they start liking each other again. So it's all good. A really fun story between a couple dogs and a couple humans, or people, I guess. And it all works out. But Lobo, he actually just have to do some community service, rebuild all the areas that he destructed, and it was really good. Honestly, I really enjoyed the first story. The second story focused more on Supergirl and Lady Marvel, I believe her name is. One of the Shazams. And, or it's Mary Marvel, sorry. And they basically beat this robot who can kind of take your powers. Not quite sure what the story about the fight was. I kind of forgot about it. But it was really a story about women loving women, helping each other out. Mary Marvel wanting a big sister, and Supergirl chose to do that. It was actually really touching. And then the final story by Mark Waid is literally just a history lesson about Supergirl and everything that she has gone through in her time in the comics. So if you're like, I have no clue who Supergirl was, I have no clue about her past, it goes through whenever she was corrupted by Darkseid and taken over as a slave, essentially. Her Woman of Tomorrow series, everything. Honestly, it was really, really good. Her origin, how she got to Earth, what happened before she got to Earth. All 3 stories were solid. The first and the last one were probably the best in my opinion, and then the Mary Marvel story was last. But overall, 44 pages for $6. If you're looking to get into Supergirl, if you don't know who she is as a character, I think this is a great introduction. And then this can help you jump on to her new series. Or not new, but relatively new. It's 15 issues in now, but I really enjoyed it. Supergirl, Summer of Supergirl special for me was a buy, even though it's $6. A fun one shot with Lobo and Supergirl, with the Supergirl movie just now arriving. It was well worth it. I highly recommend it. It's obviously a buy. Next, we have The Eye Collector. This is 32 pages for $4, and there wasn't a whole lot of dialogue in this issue. But it was really weird, really eerie. I didn't have much of a clue what was going on the entire time. It seems like there is these astronauts, they're going to the moon, and there's a creature on the moon that is abducting these people and only sending back one person. It was very eerie, very different. But for me, the sci-fi aspect of it was a little too much. No clue who this monster was, but we know like the main character, it seems like he wanted to be the only one to return back to Earth, which is an interesting concept. He's like apparently not a good person or doesn't care too much about the people that he went with. And overall, this book was not that good for me. He starts questioning how the monster knows all his thoughts, knows what he wants, and just everything in between. And it's a mini series, but personally, it was just not it for me. It did not hit the mark. Scott Snyder said this was a great book, something completely different, a new take on the comic medium, and it's fantastic. To me, this is not it. This is a sell. Unfortunately, I will not be continuing that series. Just too much for me. The Eye Collector is a sell. And if you want to get into it, if you like sci-fi, if you like monsters, maybe that can be a good book for you. A little sci-fi, a little psychological thriller, mystery book. Not quite sure how to describe it, but it's a sell for me. And lastly, the fifth and final book I'm talking about today is DC Elseworlds' Father of Tomorrow. This is 32 pages for $5, written by Kenny Porter. The art is done by Danny Earls. The book starts off with Superman Jor-El, the father of Superman in the mainline DCU, taken over and essentially, I don't really know how else to describe it other than beating villains. It was pretty normal, and at this point I was like, okay, this book is kind of mid. If it's just going to be Superman taking on villains, I can just get that with a regular title. But then you start seeing Lex Luthor starting to think about ideas for how his tech can be used, because it comes to his attention that his tech is being sent to these places for good, but people are turning his Kryptonian technology and reverse engineering it into weapons. And that obviously sets Jor-El off a little bit, pisses him off. But then Lex Luthor comes up with some idea. He's talking about, if we give people non-lethal options, we can stop them from taking our technology. Controller chips from non-lethal weapons we could develop with Star Labs. Jor-El shuts down the idea, but of course Lex Luthor is going to continue on with it because he thinks he's doing something good for the world. And Superman Jor-El has a talk with Lois, and then Lois goes to her dad, who is still General Lane in this world. They already have this one guy who's taken prisoner, and that's with the help of Jor-El's tech. I don't think Lois understands that yet, but she's kind of frustrated with her dad, and then her dad claps back saying, it's because you hang out with that alien. I bet you wish that he was your dad. And she claps back saying, no, I don't. You're my dad, but he's more of a father-like figure than you ever have been. You've never supported me in my writing career. Basically all the Lois Lane gripes that she already has at her dad. Anyways, we get a glimpse of the JLU, or the Justice League in this universe, with Jor-El. Seems like the Flash, Mr. Terrific, and a couple other characters in there. And then we have that character that General Lane had contained. He breaks out of his prison, starts going rampant on the city of Metropolis, and it's essentially like a parasite-like creature. Jor-El starts fighting him. General Lane is also there telling him to stop. There's nothing I can't handle, especially since you're here, you might as well help now. So Jor-El does do that. Lex Luthor shows up and shoots him with this device, but then Jor-El sees that there is a chip in the brain of this dude, signaling that Lex Luthor is still going in with that non-lethal chip to help basically not allow his weapons or his technology to turn into weapons. Jor-El says, oh no, Lex, how could you? Continuing on saying, I trusted you, I let you into my home, and this is how you repay me. Lex saying, I guess they didn't go with my lead shielding idea. Look, I know what you're going to say, so let's skip the disappointed dad routine. We needed to control this weapon situation. I was promised this wasn't supposed to be used against you. We know the chip works. Lex kicks him out, or excuse me, Superman kicks Lex out of his workplace. Lex says, I know you can hear me from here, so listen closely, Jor-El. You better hope General Lane kills you first, because if he doesn't, I will. And in your final moments, you'll regret tossing aside Lex Luthor. And then Jor-El, that obviously hits him in the heart. But then we catch up on where Lex went right after that. And he went to make a deal with somebody. I'm not going to tell you who. A little bit of a spoiler if I would tell you. This was fantastic. The first 5 to 6 pages were a little slow, but then as soon as the technology started to get introduced as weapons and how they can affect the world and how Lex wants to make sure that doesn't happen and try to do something good and make Jor-El proud of him, it all turns on its head and it goes absolutely bonkers. Superman Father of Tomorrow issue 2 is a buy. I highly recommend you guys get that. For DC Elseworlds, especially a mini-series, it's been fantastic through the first 2 issues. It's interesting to see how this Lex turns evil, basically doing it out of spite, doing it out of anger because Jor-El threw him out. I really like that interpretation, but guys, let me know down in the comments which of these books you are buying or selling, and what has been your #1 book that you have read so far from the new comic book week. But remember, keep reading those comics panel by panel. I'll see you guys next time. Have a great rest of your day.